In this video, we're going to do yet another graph of a function using transformations. So the function we're interested in graphing in this time is g of x is equal to negative 1/3 times absolute value of x minus 2 and then plus a 1. In this example, we see 4 transformations that we have to handle. We've got this negative that's multiplied, so that's going to be a reflection of some point. We've got this 1/3 that's multiplied, so that's going to be a stretch or compression of some sort. We've got a minus 2 here on the inside of the function, so that's a shift of some sort. And we've got a plus 1 on the outside, so that's another shift of some sort. All right, so again, let's start with our base graph. The base graph here is y equals absolute value of x. Our absolute value function is this nice V shape where the bottom of the V hits the x or the origin. So there's our base graph. So let's go through one by one and handle each of the transformations. The first thing is we see a negative. We said that was a reflection. It's outside of the function, so that affects the y coordinates. This means we're going to reflect across the x-axis because that has the effect of multiplying all of the y coordinates by negative 1. So we'll get a V shape now that is upside down. So that's step 1. All right. So second step here, we see the next thing and again, I like to look at these from left to right. We handle the negative. Now let's handle the 1/3. The 1/3 is multiplied on the outside of the function, so that affects all of the y coordinates. And the effect that that will have is that we're going to compress vertically by a factor of 1/3. Everything gets a third as tall. And again, the easy way to handle that is just to through the scale. So originally, our scale would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all negatives since I'm below the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. The easy way to do that would be to multiply your scale by a third instead of having to redraw the whole graph. So make this a negative 1/3, a negative 2/3, a negative 3/3, which is the same thing as negative 1, a negative 4/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, and 4/3, and so on. All of them get divided by 3 or multiplied by a third. It's just much simpler to do the scale change that way rather than redrawing. At least I think it's easier to do it that way. All right, third one. We see this minus 2. It's inside the function, so it's going to affect the x's. Again, I think the most straightforward way to figure out how far to shift it is to set this equal to 0, solve for x. The 2 is positive, so we're going to shift right 2 units. So our V that's upside down here, because we're working off the purple one, remember we always work off the previous step, is going to go this way and this way. And then finally, the last thing we see is a plus 1. That plus 1 tells us to shift up 1 unit. So working off the previous, everything goes up 1 unit. So this point's going to go to here. And again, we have this nice V shape. And this last red one is our final graph.